What is the ritual? So do you choose an evening show, then you watch it, and then do you write immediately? What is the process like? Talk us through it. Your personal process. Sunray?
What I do is normally I look at the dates and then I'll try to make it for one of the first few shows because it's like an indicator of how sort of popular it is, the advertisement, etc. And normally I'll try for the evening shows. Yeah.
Do you write immediately or do you wait for a while? Do you write the next day?
Normally I'll try to write the next day because how I write is whether or not I can remember the details. So if I can remember then it's memorable and it's worth writing. And normally thankfully I managed to remember most of the critical details, so it's alright.
So the ritual is that I would go to the theatre, of course I would get a program and I would bring a notebook with me.
So you're a notepad?
I have a
scribbling.
notepad and I would try to take notes as far as I can. The things that what I find myself writing are lines that I like, certain lines, and I try to incorporate those lines into the final review. And where possible, I try to conceptualize the review. I think through the structure and what points I'll include either during or immediately after the review, after the play, and I will try to write it by the end of the day before I sleep. So
okay.
On the same day.
Alright.
I find that's quite helpful. I think if it sits with me for too long, it doesn't. It's not helpful.
Okay.
It doesn't help with my writing.
I'll usually think of what I want to say on the way back, but it depends on the show. If the show is, because some shows I'm not quite sure whether directly after I leave the theatre, I'm not quite sure whether I liked it or not because there are the good pros and cons. So if for those shows, I'll usually have a longer gestation period because ultimately for how I do it is I will just say, did I have a good night out in the theatre? If I have, then even though there are a lot of flaws, my review will still be overall positive. Overall, it's still positive. If not, then it's negative. But for those, like straight off the bat, I know that I like it or not. Usually by the next morning, I'll write it. Yeah. There's no preference for afternoon or night. Yeah. But I'll try to go for earlier in the start of the run as much as possible.
Speaking of that, part of the ritual also is to read the other reviews written on the show. That's something I definitely do before I write my own reviews. I think in part, so I try to respond to what people are saying as well.
Every time I start a review, I try to make it a bit different because I'm very scared of like falling into the same reiteration of what I want to review. But I hope I have been making it more diverse, I guess.
Well, I generally have a certain template, but I'll try not to be too repetitive. So I usually bookend my reviews, and on the second paragraph is always a very short synopsis. So I generally had this template, which is easy for me. So it's just like filling up the blanks, but then I'll pay more attention to the words, and because writing a review is a literary exercise, and that's why people publish anthologies of good critics, because it is a literary exercise, and so now I'm just trying to work on the literary aspect of it.